Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So today's video is our completed sales and pricing video for 9.8 comic books, where I just do a little research this morning, see what some of those key issues in the CGC 9.8 are selling for in the past week. And I always say on these videos, like, one of the best things you can do if you're actively buying CGC 9.8 comic books is just to know the fair market value of the key issues that you might want. Then there's way less of a chance you're ever going to overpay if you have that information and you know the fair price for a book. Because yeah, on eBay, there's always collectors and sellers out there trying to get like 30, 40, 50, 60% more than the fair market value for whatever CGC 9.8 comic book it might be. So you got to keep that in mind. And I know, like, sometimes people message me like, oh, you said, the value for this book was $300, but I just went on eBay and all of them are over $500. Well, that happens. There's always sellers trying to get top dollar for a book. But if you're patient and if you look at the completed sales, that's where you're going to get a fair market value for those 9.8s that you really want. So let's get into a full list here. I do got some team books too from the team, which is cool. So all the books we'll talk about, they're all CGC 9.8 comic books. All the prices are in US dollars, just kind of keep it simple, even though I'm in Canada. But all the prices I always talk about are just US dollars on the channel here. And I'll have a full list of the comics that we'll talk about and the prices in the description below. So let's get into the team books really quick. Yeah, a couple submissions here from the team. Buying some CGC 9.8 comic books here. So John had got to me, and he had purchased two really cool books. Yeah, so he got an Amazing Spider-Man 298 and an Amazing Spider-Man 299. So kind of related books. First Eddie Brock, first Todd McFarlane Spider-Man in 298. He grabbed that one for $280. And I think that's a really good fair price for this book right now. There were just a couple auctions that had ended in the last week or two here where that book had went for over $300. So $280 definitely near the lower end of fair market value at this point for Amazing Spider-Man 298. And John also grabbed an Amazing Spider-Man 299, first cameo of Venom, really cool cameo of Venom, for $275. And that's a really good price for it too. Me seeing an auction here, it was maybe 2 weeks ago, where this one went over $300 as well. I think it was like $340 or something in an auction. Maybe a bit of a bidding war broke out for that one. But John grabbed it for $275 and an Amazing Spider-Man 298 for $280. Yeah, really good prices there. So Matt had also grabbed a couple books that he had let me know. He grabbed an Uncanny X-Men 282. So this is the first cameo appearance of Bishop. Pretty cool cover, Bishop cover. It's he grabbed it for $107.50. This is a really cool, kind of affordable first appearance from this X-Men range. Uncanny X-Men 282, first cameo of Bishop, really cool cover. Matt also grabbed a Secret Wars number 8. And Matt had let me know he bought these books, it was a couple weeks ago. I think I probably could have put it on the last video, but I didn't see it, which was kind of my mistake. But he grabbed a Secret Wars number 8, Origin of the Symbiote costume, for $285. And that's a really good price, because I believe we have one on the list here. Where Secret Wars sold for... Yeah, Secret Wars sold for a lot more in an auction on the list here just a couple days ago, and we'll get into that. But $285 for Secret Wars number 8 is looking like a really good price with... I don't know if there's some rumors out there, but all the black costume issues are kind of heating up right now. So, really good price for Secret Wars number 8 at $285 right now. So those are the team books. If you do buy a CGC 9.8, you can let me know the price on Instagram. And or if you see a 9.8 sell or something, you can let me know on Instagram as well, and hopefully I'll include it on the video. But let's get into the list here. First book, an Amazing Spider-Man 317. So this is, Amazing Spider-Man 316, kind of that Venom cover that everyone really loves, that big key issue. So the issue right after that is a pretty cool Venom cover too. 317. Saw this one go in an auction for $142.50. That's a really good price for this book. I've saw this one occasionally sort of get near the 200 mark, like maybe 170 something in an auction it would go for. And I think you'll see some people buy this in a buy it now for like $199.99 occasionally as well. So in an auction, I think this is a really good price for an Amazing Spider-Man 317. Pretty cool Venom cover where the symbiote's all over the place kind of thing for $142.50. The next one here that I saw sell, that was pretty cool. G.I. Joe number 140. This is kind of a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover in the G.I. Joe kind of run. So it's G.I. Joe number 140. Really cool cover. In an auction, this one went for $51 in the CGC 9.8. That's another great price. And, you know, this is a good example of, like, how you can get really good deals in auctions. This is a book that's not really popular or hot for any reason or whatever, but it's still really cool. And, you know, in auctions, a lot of times you can get really good deals on books that aren't hot at all. But, you know, hot books in an auction, sometimes bidding wars can start because there's a lot of demand being generated from, you know, whatever promotion is happening. So, G.I. Joe 140, though, for $51 in the CGC 9.8, I think is a fantastic deal and kind of a good example of, yeah, kind of getting a cold book for a really good price in an auction. Okay, so we'll get into the Ultimate Fallout 4s that I saw sell, because there was one seller that had a bunch of them kind of in an auction here over the weekend, I think it was. But 3 final sales for Ultimate Fallout number 4, first print in the CGC 9.8. One went for $955, one went for $1,000 even, and one went for $1,025. And these are all US dollar prices. So yeah, sticking right around that $1,000 level. And, you know, I sort of had mentioned in the past that it kind of makes sense that Ultimate Fallout 4 maybe could stick around like $900. Even though it's really hot right now, I think it still makes sense that it could be like about $900. But right now, they're still going for about $1,000. First Miles Morales, Ultimate Fallout 4, such a hot book right now that, you know, I purchased mine like 8 or 9 months ago for $354. Now they're going for $1,000. So yeah, really interesting book to see that one just go on a big run here lately. Next one here that I saw sell was really cool in an auction. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures number 1. Yeah, we talked about this book on a couple videos ago as being the sort of first appearance of the 4 colored Ninja Turtles, where they have the different colored bandanas. And this one was a Canadian price variant. So I got the signed Canadian price variant that I was so lucky to grab that one, and it's a 1 of 2. So this one's the Canadian price variant in the blue label, so not signed. It ended up going for $367.69. So I purchased my signed one for, it was like $405. So $367.69 for a non-signed one, I think is making my signed one look pretty good for about $400. But yeah, I think for good reason this book's kind of picking up in popularity and appreciation, I think, because yeah, as I said, I did some research, and this is the first appearance of the 4 colored Ninja Turtles in comic books. And I think a lot of people know the Ninja Turtles as having the 4 different colored bandanas, rather than when they first came out, they were all red bandanas, and they were black and white, actually. There wasn't even colored comic books, the first initial few issues of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures number 1, Canadian price variant, going for $367.69. Next one is the Secret Wars number 8. Yeah, the origin of the symbiote costume mentioned. It was Matt grabbed one for $285. Well, another one just went in an auction for $400 even in the CGC 9.8, and I think that's going. That's going to be an overpay. I know these black costume books seem to be heating up right now, but Secret Wars number 8 is one I've sort of mentioned in the past as it's not really rare in the 9.8. It doesn't really have like a low 9.8 ratio. I would much more prefer this book for kind of black costume books, and Secret Wars number 8, I was really used to this going in the last 6 to 12 months. In the CGC 9.8 would go for about $240, $250. I know people that have grabbed this book for $199.99 in the past 12 months here. So to see it going for $400 and it not being a very rare 9.8, I would prefer other books. And yeah, I just think this one will probably get down to that $300 level again. So $400 I think is a bit of an overpay for Secret Wars number 8. Try to be like Matt and get it for $285 for sure. An Amazing Spider-Man 238 sold. So yeah, I brought mine out. Amazing Spider-Man 238. First appearance of Hobgoblin. Yeah, such a cool book. Really rare in the 9.8 with that tattoo insert. It's just really hard to find it in like the 9.8. Really high grade. Really low 9.8 ratio on Amazing Spider-Man 238. First Hobgoblin with the tattoos. One went for, looking just like this, in the new case CGC 9.8 for $1,400. Yeah, that is, I remember it was almost a year or two ago I bought mine, and I had sort of overpaid for mine, to be honest. It was sort of almost $1,200, I think it was. So, these had since then had really kind of dipped down, and every now and then I'd see one go for like $800 or $900. But these Amazing Spider-Man books are really heating up, I think, right now again. And yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 238 in an auction too. This one went for $1,400. So yeah, wow, a pretty stiff price for an Amazing Spider-Man 238, but such a great book, so I can kind of understand why it's getting a little hot right now. The next one is a really cool one, an X-Men number 104. This is the first cameo appearance of Starjammers. And yeah, this is a really cool book to get, and I think it's X-Men 105 has the first full appearance of Starjammers. That one is extremely expensive in the 9.8, a really rare 9.8. This one not as rare, but it's still really old and wanted. It's a X-Men number 1 cover homage too. Really cool cover on this one, and it sold in the CGC 9.8 for $1,625. Yeah, this is a rare one. First Starjammers in cameo, X-Men number 104 with the X-Men number 1 homage. Yeah, really cool book. $1,625. Expensive, but definitely an investment grade book. So Amazing Spider-Man 316 had sold in an auction as well. We talked about 317 earlier. So 316, the classic McFarlane Venom cover, went for $430 in an auction. So this is heating up as well. I think the whole black costume Venom thing is kind of starting to heat up, anticipating Venom 2, the Let There Be Carnage movie. But $430 for an Amazing Spider-Man 316. I grabbed mine like 6 months ago, I think it was, for $260 something in an auction too. I think it was from this exact same seller too. So that gives you an idea of how much this book is heating up right now. So yeah, from kind of $260 something to $430 one selling last week. Amazing Spider-Man 316. An Incredible Hulk 345 had sold. So 345. Obviously, Incredible Hulk 340, everyone that's the main McFarlane key issue with Wolverine versus Hulk. Incredible Hulk 345 is definitely the second most popular McFarlane Hulk cover, and the second most collected McFarlane Hulk cover. This one, in an auction, had sold for $351. So this is another one where I had seen many in an auction, not many, but in the last 6 to 12 months here, maybe 2 or 3 of them go for like $260, $270, $280, but one going for over $300. Yeah, $351 for an Incredible Hulk 345. Next one here is an Iron Man 219. Yeah, this is the first appearance of Ghost, who's certainly like an underfollowed villain, I would say. But Iron Man 219, this is a really good book to consider if you're sort of looking for an Iron Man key issue, because there's Iron Man 282, the first full War Machine, but there's not too many Iron Man key issues from that run of Iron Man, sort of in the 80s kind of range to really want. But Iron Man 219 definitely fits in as definitely a wantable key issue from the Iron Man range. I think it's one of the better ones from the 80s. A cool white cover, first appearance of Ghost. One sold for $243.50. And yeah, we'll let you know for this one. I ended up buying this one. Yeah, this is one I grabbed in an auction. Iron Man 219, first full appearance of Ghost. I was not too familiar with this book, to be honest, until I saw this auction and really liked the cover, number one. I think the cover was looking really great. This specific copy looking really good too. It's a white cover, so I think the white covers are pretty tough to find in the high grade. And looked on the census too. I think there's about 50 of them, so 1 of 50. And the 9.8 ratio is like just over 20%, so pretty rare too as well. So I think this is a really good Iron Man key to think about. If you're like me and you like villains and things like that, and a really cool cover, definitely I think you should consider Iron Man 219. So I paid $243.50 in an auction. I really kind of drilled down and really wanted this book, but on Go Collect, it says the fair market value is $170. But on eBay, if you look at the completed listings, one had sold for like $399.99 before. And there was a few that had sold in kind of a best offer that seemed like they would basically sell in that sort of mid 200 range. So I'm not sure if that 170 on Go Collect is like really updated, but Iron Man 219, I think $243.50, maybe a bit of an overpay, a bit of a bidding war kind of broke out. I think I bid like $265 or something like that. Like I kind of made sure I really wanted to win it, and I thought maybe someone brave might get up to $250. So wanted to make sure I wanted maybe a bit of an overpay on Iron Man 219, but a really cool cover and one to consider for sure if you're looking for an Iron Man book. Because I don't have any Iron Man books, and I really wanted one. And Iron Man 282, First War Machine, was kind of the one I was thinking, but this one really kind of caught my eye, so I went after it. Next book here, Avengers 257, the first Nebula. This is a cool first appearance that was still pretty affordable, and I think this one was going for a lot more during all the Avengers movies with Nebula in them. I think it's a good time to buy this one. Avengers 257, first Nebula, for $127.50 in an auction. Yeah, and that is a pretty fair price, and I think that's lower than what this book was going for during Avengers Endgame and things like that. So if you want this book, Avengers 257, now is the time to buy it for sure. $127.50 I think is a pretty fair price. An Amazing Spider-Man 252 sold. Yeah, so Amazing Spider-Man 252. It's tied for the first appearance of the black costume, and it's the Amazing Fantasy 15 cover homage, which kind of harkens back to the first appearance of Spider-Man in the Silver Age. So that's another reason why I think this is a really cool investment grade book. But also for like a mid-80s book, it's pretty rare on the census. Like the 9.8 ratio, I think, is 10 or 11%. That's really low. Rare 9.8. A lot of things going for it. In the CGC 9.8, one sold in an auction just in the last few days here for $640. So this is one where I purchased I have two of them. I have one in the newsstand and one in the direct here. I purchased mine right around $500. And then they sort of dipped, like almost right after I bought them. They kind of dipped to around $350 to $400. And I made a couple videos saying, wow, this is a great buy at $350 to $400. And many had sold for basically $350 and right in that range about 6 to 8 months ago, let's call it. So I was really pounding the table to buy this one. Now $640 with all these black costume books really heating up. And almost wish I bought another one because this is just a classic book. I think you do get the first black costume, but that homage of first Spider-Man is going to be pretty important, I think, over time, as far as it being kind of an investment grade book. So next book was one I was watching, and I was pretty tempted to kind of pull the trigger, to be honest. Uncanny X-Men 133, and then it sold like a couple days later. So Uncanny X-Men 133 is the first solo Wolverine story. So it kind of predates Wolverine Limited Series #1. So this is a great book. Cool Wolverine cover, and it sold in a buy now for $499.95. This one was looking really good. The colors were really vivid. It was a newsstand version, nicely centered. Like everything was right about this book. And Go Collect, I think, has this one around $350 to $400 as the fair market value. But again, I had this on my watch list, and I was pretty tempted to kind of just pull the trigger and buy it now for $500 with the nice colors and the center. It was a really nice copy, but one I would recommend. Hopefully, maybe get it closer to $400. The Uncanny X-Men 133, first solo Wolverine story. Yeah, I like this book way better than Wolverine Limited Series #1, and I have a Limited Series #1 too. So it's kind of I sort of want this book. This is one I've mentioned on some want list videos as well. Next book that sold in an auction too for a pretty good price, I think. A Batman 612. So this is the Batman Superman cover, the Jim Lee cover from his Hush Jim Lee run. Really cool one to get for an affordable price. Batman 612, the non-sketch version, so just the normal version, went for, in an auction, $73.51. So that's a really good 9.8 to get if you're kind of on a budget. I think that's one I've actually considered this one, or maybe even the sketch version of this one, as sort of a really good affordable 9.8 to grab, but I don't have this one. So I also saw an Amazing Spider-Man 607, the classic J. Scott Campbell Black Cat cover. Amazing Spider-Man 607, CGC 9.8, sell for $190.50. And this was in an auction, so $190.50 is, I had purchased mine in a kind of a best offer. I offered them, and I ended up, I think it was $170 or $175 was the deal I got. So this one may be heating up a little bit in an auction, going for $190.50. Probably most buy it nows are right around $200, maybe a little bit over. If you want this kind of in a buy it now, right now. So $190.50 though, maybe heating up a bit, but a classic Black Cat cover. This is like the hottest Black Cat cover, I think, in my opinion. So yeah, one to consider. An Amazing Spider-Man 607 for $190.50, I think is a pretty decent fair price. So an Amazing Spider-Man 210 had sold in an auction. This is the first appearance of Madam Web. This is one that I have bid on in the past, but got outbid, and it's one I sort of want. I love kind of first appearances of villains, but this one really heated up. This is one I wanted, all the time, but then, call it like 8 months ago or so. It's been a while now, but there's was an announcement that I think there's going to be a Disney Plus Madam Web series. I don't know if that's coming on the next year or two or whatever, but this book really kind of took off after that announcement, and I was outbid a couple times on this book, but this one I didn't bid on. Looking really good, though, to be honest. This one, I was tempted. I was watching it on my watch list. But it ended up going for Amazing Spider-Man 210 for $701. Yeah, it was a really nice looking one. I saw them sort of go in this price range, after that announcement kind of thing. There was a bit of a lull maybe like 3-4 months ago where I saw one go for, it was like just over $600 in an auction. So I think that's kind of the range here. Yeah, maybe, 600 if you get lucky and a good deal. 700 is a fair value, and then anything over 700, maybe a bit of an overpay. But yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 210, I think there's just over 100 of them, of a first Madam Web in the 9.8, and yeah, one I kind of want to, really cool Amazing Spider-Man cover. So yeah, one I still kind of want, but I think 700 is a little bit too expensive for me. So I had also saw a Teen Titans number 12 sell. Yeah, so Teen Titans number 12. First full appearance of the Batman Who Laughs. This one, the first print that I recommend. It's a really rare modern book in the CGC 9.8. So, I really was recommending this one around like $350 to $400, let's call it. And I think someone even on the team here, I think it was Jerry on the team. Yeah, he had mentioned, this was like 8 months ago now, but he grabbed one for $250, and it was lulling a little bit back then. I was really recommending to buy it back then. But Teen Titans 12, just in the last few days here, one sold for $650. So yeah, this one is really heating up. It's getting that notoriety as, from a book that had just come out in the past 3 or 4 years, I don't know of any more rare 9.8. The 9.8 ratio on this one is 32-ish%. So of all graded copies, 32% of them are 9.8s, and that's extremely low and rare for a brand new book. Like most brand new books, it's like 80% of them are 9.8s. Like 70, 80, 90% of them are 9.8s. This one, only 32% of them are 9.8s that are all graded. So yeah, just a really rare modern book, and I always thought there was a lot more potential for it to kind of lead the way in CGC 9.8 prices for modern books. And I think this is probably the highest one I've saw sell so far, $650, yeah, for Teen Titans 12. Maybe that's a sign of things to come, but I think if you're a little more patient, you look to get that closer to 500, I think is a pretty decent deal. Next book's really interesting to see sell, because I think it was like a week or two ago, I saw another one of these sell, and I never see these. So, Amazing Spider-Man 300 in a newsstand, CGC 9.8. This one was looking amazing too. I would have been so I didn't see this one. I wasn't watching this one. I just saw it on kind of my research this morning. I would have been so tempted just to pull the trigger if I had saw this one. Amazing Spider-Man 300 in the newsstand, CGC 9.8. It's so rare. It sold for $4,500. So yeah, I think the direct version, I got 2 of the direct versions in the 9.8. This is such a rare 9.8 for a late 80s book. It's like the kind of late, rare 9.8 to kind of get, and first origin and first full appearance of Venom. But the direct versions are kind of going, I think, for like 2,300, 2,500 right now. So the newsstand version almost double, like let's call it 75% more price just to get the newsstand. But it's so rare. Yeah, I mentioned I kind of saw one maybe a couple weeks or about a month ago sell as well. And that's the first time I saw one almost in the whole 3 years I've been collecting. Like, you just don't see these sell very often. So, yeah, I might have been very tempted to pull the trigger at $4,500 for this book, just it being so rare. It's such an investment-grade book. I think you could buy this one and put it away for 20 years, and it'll probably be worth like $15,000 in 20 years or something like that, is my feeling. So, next one. Uncanny X-Men 266. Yeah, first full appearance of Gambit. Really great cover, and yeah, one I don't have, believe it or not. And yeah, I've always mentioned in the past for this one, it just seems like all the auctions that had popped up that I could possibly get on this one, like they were really off-centered for some reason, or yeah, it just never was kind of meant to be for me to buy this book, but this one's heating up. Yeah, Uncanny X-Men 266 saw two sell for $470, and then I saw another one sell for $487. So these ones are kind of pushing $500. Whereas, yeah, I can very much remember 6 to 12 months ago, some of the auctions for this book were like $320, $330, and, you know, that's when I was trying to buy it, but I just was a little bit too picky on the centering and just never kind of happened for me. But, yeah, now they're, you know, let's call it $150 more than that, so $470 and $487. And this book's heating up because X-Men's coming back to the MCU, and people are anticipating that. And every, like, first appearance of Gambit, first appearance of Rogue, first appearance of Jubilee, all those books, first appearance of Mr. Sinister, all those books are really kind of heating up compared to where they were about 6 to 12 months ago. Next one I saw sell is a Young Avengers #1. This is a really cool cover, a cool book. We'll get to the prices here. There was two that had sold. One was $257.99. The other one was $269.99 for Young Avengers #1. This is one I've highlighted sort of periodically on videos in the past, where it's not very rare at all in the 9.8. I'm pretty sure the ratio, it's like a 70% of all graded copies are CGC 9.8s. So not a rare one in the 9.8, and I've sort of recommended in the past to kind of wait for around $200 for this book. And I'd still kind of stick to that. I think, you know, people are sort of thinking, oh, well, you know, the Avengers was such a big hit, so now maybe MCU will come out with a Young Avengers. But, you know, if that doesn't happen, I don't think this book is really worth around $250. It's a cool cover, though, so, you know, maybe it is. But for me, I'd kind of recommend to stick to wait for around $200. I have saw them occasionally sell for $200 as well, but most of them do sell for $250. But it's not very rare in the 9.8. So yeah, for me, it just doesn't stick out as one that should be like more than $200 maybe, because it's, again, not very rare in the 9.8. But first appearance of the Young Avengers, cool cover. I could totally see why people want it. If they, probably half the people that buy these have no idea about the 9.8 rarity on the census, I would imagine. So interesting book. Next one, Eternals #1 in the CGC 9.8. So I had saw this one sell for $1,299 just in the last day here. And, you know, I think this one is going to kind of go down as an overpay. Whoever bought this for $1,299. We had documented one on a price video, and I think it was like $900. Maybe it was even $850. And I mentioned, wow, $850 for an Eternals 1, CGC 9.8, looking pretty good, is a good price. Like, that's a solid price. Because when the Eternals movie was announced, this book was like over $1,000. Some of them sold for about this price and maybe even over a little bit. But I think right now, the Eternals sort of hype has lulled, and me seeing one kind of go for $850, $900 a couple weeks ago, I think it was, maybe a couple months ago. I forget exactly, but I think $1,299 is going to go down as an overpay for Eternals right now. That'll be probably the prices they'll go for once the movie hype starts to pick up again. And if the movie does really good, but yeah, seeing them go for under $1,000, so I think that's an overpay for Eternals #1. Saw a couple Sandman #1s go for, and yeah, first appearance of Morpheus. Sandman #1 is a really cult followed kind of Neil Gaiman, you know, story that a lot of people really love. And yeah, so two of these had sold. One was for $429.99 in CGC 9.8. Another one sold for $479. And yeah, you know, for Sandman #1, I remember seeing these sort of in the past 6 to 12 months, kind of going over 500. Like, I remember many of them going for over 500. And I think occasionally, sometimes like some rumors will pop up, like, ooh, Sandman might be made a movie, and like this book heats up a bit to over 500. But right now, Sandman, I think right now it's a great time to buy Sandman. If you're a big Sandman fan and you want a CGC 9.8 of Sandman #1, yeah, for $429.99, I think that's a bang-on fair value and a really good value for, yeah, a big key issue that has a cult following, and if you like Sandman, this is the one to get. So, and me remembering all those prices for over 500, like I'm pretty sure many went for 550-ish. Like, this was one that I sort of had in my mind, like it's over 500, but yeah, I think that was based on a bit of some rumors going on back then, like a year ago or whatever it was, but I think $429.99 for Sandman #1 is right in a good zone if you want to buy this one. And last book on the list here is a Batman Harley Quinn. Yeah, so the Alex Ross cover, the first appearance and origin of Harley Quinn in DC continuity. Yeah, really cool kind of Mona Lisa looking cover. I always say kind of just it's a simple cover, but when you look at Joker's face, he like is looking into your soul and he's all evil and looks pretty wicked. So yeah, really cool cover that kind of grows on you. I do have this one. So one sold just in the last couple days here for $450. So this one could be heating up a little bit too, because you know, I think I mentioned it on one of our ice cold videos that this was a good one to sort of look at. I had purchased mine for $290, and I'd mentioned that was like a really good deal. I was, you know, really kind of almost the only reason I bought it was because I got a good price on it, because it was from a guy in Canada from just a couple hours away, so I knew I would get it quick. Shipping was really cheap, and I got the book for a real cheap price, $290. Since then, I've sort of saw a lot of these go for like $325, $350, but one in the last couple days here going for $450, and I could see this one, you know, heating up just based on like the coolness of the cover and like the cult followedness of the cover, because, you know, first appearance in DC continuity. It's not really the first appearance of Harley Quinn. That's Batman Adventures 12, but, you know, you still kind of get a little bit of a first appearance, I guess, but it's all about the cover, I think. It's just, you know, some people maybe don't really like the cover too much. I was sort of like that when I first kind of got back into the hobby, but I've learned to really grow to love it. And yeah, I think this one probably taken off a little bit just on the coolness of the cover. Because yeah, not really too rare in the 9.8 either. So, but Batman Harley Quinn, if you're a big Harley Quinn fan, it's a really good, affordable one to get. For $450 though, like I grabbed my Batman Adventures Mad Love, which is the origin of Harley Quinn for it was like $410 or $420 or something like that, so less than this. I think that book's a way better 9.8 to have than this book, just based on the rarity. Yeah, the Batman Adventures Mad Love, the 9.8 ratio is like 17% or something like that. For a 1990s book, that is like almost unheard of. So I've always mentioned Batman Adventures Mad Love as being one that's undervalued. And yeah, if I had to spend $450 on Batman Adventures Mad Love or Batman Adventures Harley Quinn, I would choose Batman Adventures Mad Love and hope to get Batman Harley Quinn closer to like $300 to $350, which is where I kind of bought mine and where I saw them a lot. Very many had sold for kind of right in between $300 and $350. So $450 maybe a bit of an overpay, but it could be heating up. I'm not too sure of any Harley Quinn rumors or anything like that, but I think probably a bit of an overpay on that one. Okay, that's the full list there got through. Yeah, some great key issues and some interesting prices. I think, you know, for sure the market isn't cooling off at all. Like, I think, you know, for what First Hobgoblin went for, which is probably about a high price that I can remember in the sort of short-term history here. Another high price, Amazing Spider-Man 252 for $640. Like, yeah, again, most of them in the last 6 months here, I'd sort of went around the $400 mark, $450 maybe getting up to $500, but $640 is a lot. And then that Teen Titans 12, yeah, that's probably the top highest, you know, price I've saw for Teen Titans 12 CGC 9.8, going for $650. So, yeah, no signs that the market's kind of cooling off. So, still kind of tough to get deals, but yeah, I think every now and then, you know, there's some deals like that Avengers 257, the first Nebula, that's really cooled off. I think you can get some deals on that. Yeah, what's another one that there was? Yeah, that Batman 612, that Superman Batman Jim Lee book. But yeah, there's a couple comics that are a little bit cooling off, but for the most part, I think the market's still really hot. Yeah, so might be kind of tough to get some deals, but yeah, we're kind of getting used to this hot market because, yeah, normally I say, yeah, be patient and wait for better prices, but the prices just keep sort of advancing. So it's, you know, it's kind of, certainly if you've sort of listened to me say be patient for the last 6 months and you bought nothing, you might not feel that good. So, you know, you still want to be patient and try to get deals, but maybe the market is moving on a little bit more and you might have to, you know, pay up to get some of these great key issues in the 9.8. Okay, yeah, we'll wrap it up there, but if you haven't already, I would invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. Yeah, I would love to have you on our comic book collecting and comic book investing team. And hit the bell for all the latest notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter too. All the links in the description below for that. I'll have a list of all the books and the prices in the description below as well. But thanks for watching today. Yeah, I love these market update videos where we can stay on top of the prices. And yeah, when you know the fair market value of the books, there's just way less of a chance you're ever going to overpay. And then if you do overpay, you kind of know, so you feel better about it, whereas, you're not just blindly overpaying and then 6 months later you realize it and then you feel like a remorse and stuff, and that can kind of turn you off to the hobby. So more information on the prices is just so helpful when you're actively buying CGC 9.8s to make sure you don't overpay. Because certainly, there's always people out there trying to get top dollar for their CGC 9.8s, trying to get people to overpay. So you gotta be cognizant of that for sure. Alright, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate all the support, and message me on Instagram if, easiest way to get a hold of me is on Instagram if you have any questions, whatever it might be. Thanks again for watching though, and I'll see you on the next one.